Welcome back to our Postman series. In our last video, we learned how to use pre-request scripts to dynamically prepare our request. But once we send a request and get a response back, how do we know it's correct? Are we just supposed to manually check the status code and read through the JSON body response every single time we make a request? Absolutely not. Today, we dive into the other side of scripting, validating our responses. We will do this in the area of Postman that runs the code after a response is received. Now, depending on your version of Postman, this might look slightly different. You will either have a dedicated test tab, or you will have a single unified scripts tab. If you have downloaded the latest Postman from online, you will see a scripts tab which has a pre-request and post-response tabs sections. In this post-response tab is where we write the JavaScript code to verify our responses. This is exactly how it works. So let's open our get request. We already have a get request here which does a get. It does the authentication and then use the token to get this run this API, and we get a response here which is a JSON body. So it all looks good. On the right hand side of the scripts tab, when you go to the scripts tab and go to the post response, you will see a snippets section. And when you let's say you want to check the status code you have is 200 OK. There is a ready-made code available which is called snippet, and there are a lot of snippets here, and let's pick this one. So what this is a Postman test, and this is the name of the test, and it checks the status response code is 200. So if you click on it, it instantly adds this script. So pm.test is how every test starts. The first part is the name of the test, and the second part is the function, like you can see here, and you can see the Postman response to have the status 200. So let's now hit the send button, and what it does is Postman, after receiving the response, it runs the post response script. And how do you know whether this test passed or failed? That's how we have to go to the test results section in the response. You see a tab here, and here you will see the test passed. Let's say you are expecting a different HTTP code in the response, for example, and if there is a mismatch, you will immediately see that your test has failed. And in the test results tab, it says what was the expected status code and what was the actual status code in the response. So let's try another one. Let me revert it back, and let's try another one. Let's say you want to check whether the first name in the response is Emily. So what we first need to do is get the response and then pick this particular first name in the response, and then get the value of this and then compare it with our expected first name. So let's get started. So first, what we need to do is you need to first have the response captured and stored in a JSON data. This is how it does. Postman.response.json retrieves all the JSON in the response, and we store it here. Once we have stored it there, what we need to do is we need to add a similar function like this, the postman.test. Let's copy paste this and name our test as so this is a free text. You can enter anything, and the name of the test followed by the function where the actual code resides. So here what we are going to do is every test starts with PM. So PM dot, and you can see a lot of autofill options, and what you select is expect. So you are expecting something, and then you get the value of that something to be, you are expecting and putting the actual value to be to equal. This is the equal, so it compares the expected and the actual. So the expected is Emily, and the actual value is the JSON data which we captured here. We don't want the entire JSON data, but we want to pick the particular field, which is the first name. So JSON data, the entire response object, and in that you pick the first name, and then you compare that, and you say it should be equal to Emily. So let's hit the send button here, and you see we have two tests here. pm.test is that one test, and there is another test, two tests. And in the test results tab, you see the two tests passed. And let's say your code changes and the developer and you want to expect the E to be smaller case, but the code was not updated. You have a mismatch here that is caught here automatically. You see the expected value not equal to the actual value. So this is fantastic and a simple way to automate this check. And let's add another. Let me revert it back, and let's add another test from the snippet. You can also measure the performance and check the response time of your API. You can verify whether the API is slow or fast and there is any problem with it. So then the snippet section, there is a response time is less than 200 milliseconds, ready to be used code. So Postman inserts this template. So you can see another postman.test, and this one the same like the previous one. It expects something to be equal to the expected, the actual something to be expected. So it compares that. Here we are comparing the actual Postman API, the actual API response time to be less than 200 milliseconds. So you can see in our previous request, our response time was 19.96, which is very well below 200. So let's test this one, and it should pass. And you can see the response time is 15 milliseconds, and which is less than 200 milliseconds, and it passed. And if your requirement is so strict, let's say I put a number 10, which is going to be mostly less than the response time we see right now, and if I hit send button, you see the assertion failed here. The response time was 17, but we were expecting it to be less than 10 milliseconds. So this is another fantastic way, a simple way for checking the performance of your API. So from now, when you see this GET request and you open a GET request, this GET request, when you hit the send button, what it's going to do is it's going to not only send the request, but it's also going to run the post response scripts for us, and then assert the most critical pieces of data in our response. So in our next video, we will look at Postman Visualizer, a cool feature that lets us take our JSON response and display it in a much more user-friendly way, a graphical way. Thanks for watching, and I will see you there.